It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
And here is episode number 165 of the podcast. Hello. Welcome to the show. Man, I've got a lot of stuff to get to. Some really funny stuff. Some slightly serious stuff as well. It's what you expect on this podcast, and I greatly appreciate you you listen. If you get a chance to share it with others, I would really appreciate that as well. Downloadable at iTunes, also on iHeartRadio, on YouTube, TuneIn, Google Play, Google Plus, and also if you just say to your Amazon Alexa, play the Rob Carson Show podcast, it'll play the latest edition. All right? It's that easy. I want to thank Dr. Alex Nelson. I'm going to go see him next week. He is a chiropractor in Kansas City. He's going to be working on my neck. My neck has been torqued by sitting in front of the computer, and it goes out every once in a while, and there's a compressed disc there, and I will tell you that chiropractic works every time. And I'm going to go get it done next week. His website, fountainoflifechiro.com, fountainoflifechiro.com, the website, I should say the phone number, 816-741-4711. You can get decompression for herniated low back discs, electrical stimulation, $30 adjustments for veterans and veterans' families. Heck of a deal. Fountainoflifechiro.com. All right, so coming up, I'm going to get into a little bit about DACA. I have a new really funny parody that a friend of mine, Jim Gossett, who's a genius, wrote for me. Got a little bit of a Hurricane Harvey stuff going on, some banning of Confederate statues. Oh, and then we got some really fun stuff. Did you realize how many emotions that we have? Did you know there are 27? 27 of them? Did you know that somebody was selling breast milk lattes at Burning Man? Oh, boy. So a couple new parodies and other stuff coming up here very shortly. I don't know if you heard this last night. You saw it on television. The Kansas City Chiefs upset the New England Patriots. And watch the beginning of this. And I live in the Kansas City area. And it was stunning. It was stunning. I fell asleep in the middle of the game. Chiefs ended up scoring 47 points, and they beat New England by 20 points, 47-27. Unbelievable. Here is Alex Smith talking about it.
I mean, what a game tonight, right? I mean, hats off to these guys, defending world champs. I mean, we knew it was going to be a battle, and that's what it turned into. What a game. Hope it was much fun to watch as it was to play in.
Unbelievable. And Kareem Hunt is a young guy. He's a running back. He had only had one fumble in his college career. His first play for the Chiefs last night, he fumbled. Then he came back, and he scored 3 touchdowns. And he set an all-time rushing record and scoring record for a rookie in the history of the NFL. A 78-yard TD pass. Oh, man, it was glorious. It really was glorious. It was a lot of fun to watch, unless, of course, you are a New England fan. And in New England, it was coming back from the big victory, and Tom Brady's 40 years old now and all that. Wow, one for the ages, and it changed everything because all of the East Coast sports folks were saying that New England was going to slaughter the Chiefs. It would be no contest whatsoever. And think about I'm not a sports dude, but what an incredible feat to go in where I believe they're 11-0. At home in the last whatever months. But anyway, they don't lose at home. New England doesn't lose at home. And they had this tribute, and Mark Wahlberg was there at the very beginning, and they had all of the Super Bowl trophies there, and man, did they get spanked. They got their butts handed to them. Oh, man. One Chiefs player decided he was going to sit down during the national anthem. And it just, what an idiotic cliche at this point, to be quite honest. The ratings, by the way, for the opening night of football were down pretty significantly. And I had mentioned this online that, the NFL, they can do something about this. They can make players stand respectfully for the national anthem. That's it. They should. And they should, because it's going to cost them, if it hasn't already, it's going to cost them a hell of a lot of money. I don't understand why they do. You don't have free speech at work, kids. You cannot go in to work and wear a T-shirt that says, I'm a Nazi. Or you cannot go into work and say that you hate your boss on a T-shirt or a hat. Or there are a lot of things on the radio. There are certain words you cannot say. You will lose your job. That's it. So if the boss says you will stand during the national anthem, it's part of our protocol, then you get your butt up there and you stand. And I tell you what, they're going to learn a hard lesson, because there are a lot of people not watching because of this stuff. On Fox and Friends, NFL player Burgess Owens weighed in on the continuing anthem protests.
I tell you, we have to understand really what our country's always been about, and that is every generation, their job and our job is make sure the next generation has hope. They feel great about our country, great about their opportunities to move forward. These young men who are now millionaires because of the country, because of the price paid, are not only failing our kids, but they're betraying our past. These kids are looking for examples of what it takes to succeed. And these guys are making millions of dollars, collectively billions of dollars. And instead of standing and being proud of who they are and proud of this country that gave them an opportunity, right, and taking the opportunities to actually do some business in their off season, they sit down and they put our flag down.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people in the country, young people, who need to be victims because they didn't live through a war, they didn't live through a depression, or all sorts of things. I mean, honestly, the coddled generation, and they need to feel relevant, and so they say the country is racist. They say that the country is. They take us back to 1968. They take us back to 1919 or 1861. It is ridiculous. Here's a little bit more from Burgess Owens with regard to sitting during the national anthem, and he's right.
I would say this. I think black and white Americans need to learn our history. First of all, white Americans, stop apologizing. We have this country, the greatest in the history of mankind, because of what we
wait. We don't. The current generation who never held slaves and aren't racist mostly. We don't have to apologize.
Done together.
What?
And what white Americans have done to help the black Americans to experience what we're experiencing today. 8 years of a black president, millionaires sitting on the sideline and all complaining. And that's why that book is labeled Whiners and Wieners and Wimps. We need to stand up, be proud of who we are, and thank goodness for people like Jim
Whiners, Wieners, and Wimps. I like that book. I'm going to have to get it.
Brown. I respect him. I wish I could respect the leadership in the NFL because those guys are really taking a knee on our entire country by letting these guys run rampant the way they are.
Yep, I agree 100%. And like I said, all it takes is when your boss tells you what you can wear to work, your boss tells you what you can say at work, your boss tells you when you can take a break, There was something last night that was kind of cool. All 5 former presidents came together. A One America appeal, I should say, for Hurricane Harvey. Here's the PSA.
Hurricane Harvey brought terrible destruction, but it also brought out the best in humanity.
As former presidents, we want to help our fellow Americans begin to recover.
Our friends in Texas, including Presidents Bush 41 and 43, are doing just that.
People are hurting down here, but as one Texan put it, we've got more love in Texas than water.
We love you, Texas.
Donate to oneamericaappeal.org. We are all in this together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, that was pretty cool. I could have some sort of a cynical line. I could try to say something funny, but no, I'm not going to. I thought that was pretty cool. All right. So DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is going to be phased out. And a lot of people are upset about it. But here's the truth. The United States Citizen and Immigration Services Agency estimates that between 40 to 50% of the arrivals are fraudulent, okay? Former USCIS manager at the agency's investigative unit, Matt O'Brien, said that it's, roughly 40 to 50%, probably higher. The DACA program was riddled with fraud and abuse from the beginning, where illegal aliens, applicants for the program, allegedly lied on applications, were rarely caught by officials. The USCIS employees did quick checks of DACA applications rather than thorough reviews in order to get DACAs all racked and stacked quickly. And that's what it was all about. It was about getting as many kids in as you can, and then DAPA was going to come along, which is the next program for the parents, because you can't have kids here without their parents, and it was going to flood the country. That's what this is all about. It was to flood the country with illegal Democrat voters. That's it. And you can disagree with me. I don't care. But that's the way it is. And regardless, I've got a song here. A little Wayne Newton and Donald Trump and DACA Shame.
DACA shame, they're trying DACA shame. Republicans, they play Obama's game. Take it away, Mr. President.
Paul Ryan,
He's doing more lying. He's done an about face, a real disgrace, a pencil neck geek we ought to replace. Doc shame. Stop with your doc shame. Your turn, Wayno. Don't look at Trump when you're the one to blame. That's telling him, Wayne. Dreamers act unlawful, that's a fact. You let illegals in, say it's a sin to send those cheaters home again. DACA shame, don't fall the DACA shame.
Come on.
Your argument is extremely lame. Hey, Wayne, let me in here. Kids no more, they're over 34. They flood our jobs and schools, break all the rules, make America look like fools. DACA shame. Big finish now, Mr. President. It's a game. DACA shame.
All right, that's from my buddy Jim Gossett. He works at WIAY in Atlanta, and he's a genius. Did he do a good Wayne Newton or what? I mean, you had that kind of lateral S that he has. Spectacular! Wow, that was pretty cool. Oscar-winning actress Jennifer Lawrence suggested that the devastating hurricanes in Texas and approaching Florida were signs of Mother Nature's rage and wrath at America for electing Donald Trump and not believing in man-made climate change. Mother Nature's wrath. So she's not even saying it was God. She says it's scary. And end of days feeling across the world and especially the U.S. You know what? You need to up your meds, girl. I do Lexapro. It's great stuff. She said, it's a new language that's forming. I don't even recognize it. It's also scary to know that climate change is due to human activity and we continue to ignore it. And the only voice that we really have is through voting. I'll bet she didn't vote in the last election. I'll bet you anything she didn't vote in the last election. And you have voted very recently as a country, the reporter noted, to which Lawrence replied that it was really startling Trump was elected, among other things. Watching these hurricanes now, and it's really hard, especially while promoting the movie, not to feel, promoting the movie, Mother Nature's rage and wrath. She said that the U.S. politics were really polarizing and upsetting. I say you should move. She also said, I heard things and seen things, nice English there, on TV in my own country that devastate me and make me sick, and it's really confusing. Again, I'm telling you, Prozac's, it's an old standard. Prozac's an old standard. So, 2 Democrat senators have unveiled a bill on Capitol Hill to remove Confederate statues from the U.S. Capitol building. Cory Booker and Barbara Lee, who has the last name Lee. She needs to change her name because General Lee had the same last name. Here's a quote. The National Statuary Hall collection is intended to honor American patriots who served and sacrificed or made tremendous contributions to the nation. Those who committed treason against the United States of America and led our nation into its most painful and bloody war, and not patriots, should not be afforded such a rare honor in this sacred space. National Statuary Hall collection in the Capitol building contains 12 Confederate statues, figures like Robert E. Lee, of course. Let's see, Stonewall Jackson, I guess. Jefferson Davis is also there. And the Confederate Monument Removal Act would allow 120 days for the removal of the Confederate statues. It's erasing history. That's history. The Capitol's history. A lot of bad things have happened in the Capitol. You want to tear down the damn Capitol? It was the Capitol when slavery was happening. The White House was built by slaves. You better tear it down, right? But there is a new product if you want to erase the country's history. Here it is. The Mr. Clean Magic Eraser is known for removing the most difficult stains from walls, floors, or just about anywhere. But what about the stains on our country's history? Mr. Clean certainly won't let that stand, and that's why there's the Mr. Clean Magic History Eraser. Got a Confederate memorial? Simply use your Mr. Clean Magic History Eraser, and presto, it's gone. Everybody knows Christopher Columbus ushered in mass genocide. With Mr. Clean Magic History Eraser, it's like he never even lived. Got some offensive text in a history book? Mr. Clean will sanitize it like it's a freshly cleaned toilet. Mr. Clean Magic History Eraser uses patented ADWD technology. That's any dead white guy. It hones in on the dead white guy, targets and removes him, no discussion, no debate, no questions asked. And Mr. Clean Magic History Eraser even works at night on those statues in the courthouse square. And don't forget, he even works on holidays like Columbus Day and soon, maybe even Christmas. Mr. Clean Magic History Eraser. Mr. Clean Magic Inoffensive History Replacer, sold separately. All right, so there's a new product. You can erase history because that's what people are trying to do all over the country. And I'm not trying to defend the Confederates, okay? And I'm not trying to defend, Jefferson Davis. But it's history, folks. It's history. And you can choose to admire it or you can choose to acknowledge it. It's up to you. All right. Before I get into the next story, which is kind of serious, Betsy DeVos scrapping President Obama's campus sex policy, and I'll explain why it's a good thing. Campus sex and sex assault. I'll explain why it's a good thing, okay? Because it's built on a lie. Because it is built on a lie. And if you'd send your daughter to college using the statistics that Barack Obama used, you would be criminal. If you send your daughter because of the supposed number of people who get raped who are women on campus before they graduate. All right. I do want to mention, one of the big stories, the weekend is Stephen King's It is in the theaters this weekend. And it's a new version. It's got a new Pennywise played by Bill Skarsgård. Looks scary as hell. I am not going to see it. No freaking way. I don't like scary movies anyway. I don't particularly like, I don't know. The victims are kids, which is so it's supposed to be scary that way. All right. A great horror movie takes advantage of not only your fears, but also it takes place in places you'd think you'd be safe. All right. So, for instance, Invasion of the Body Snatchers or the Freddy Krueger movies. When you go to sleep, you expect to be safe, but that was the only safe space you were not safe. Is if you fell asleep, you'd die. Right. There's a lot of that stuff. When you see like Chucky is a little doll that normally would be just an innocuous toy, and it's a serial killer. Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, anyway, the new version of it opens today, and apparently Stephen King said he liked it.
I had hopes, but I was not prepared for how good it really was. I mean, I went back and saw it a second time, and felt that I was seeing things the second time through that I'd missed the first time.
Wow.
Skarsgård was great as Pennywise, and he's got big shoes to fill, let's face it, because people remember Tim Curry as Pennywise the Clown, and they remember the look that Pennywise had. Wow.
And, I mean, Curry was frightening. You think about the water, the rain water coming down the side of the street, and the little kid with the paper boat. That's the ultimate safety, right? That's just a kid playing, and then it goes into the drain, and then there's Pennywise. Wow. That scared the crap out of me. It still does. Here's a little bit more about Pennywise as said by Stephen King.
The entity that is Pennywise focuses on whatever that particular child fears the most. The important thing is they kept the core idea that Pennywise gets to these kids by finding out what they're afraid of and being that thing.
Wow. Been really bad for the clowning industry. I mean, it really has. And I feel bad because people are it's fashionable to be afraid of clowns, right? It's fashionable. Oh yeah, I'm really, how many people really are afraid of clowns? But it has really screwed the clowning industry. Really, really has. Hey, the show today also brought to you by Grass Monsters KC, 5520 Raytown Road. A lot of leaves are going to be falling. You're going to be wanting to mulch the heck out of them. Maybe put a bagger on the back of your Dixie chopper mower or your Hustler mower. Hustler's made in Kansas, Dixie chopper made in Indiana. The most amazing mowers. You will never have another one. You will never buy one of those mowers chained out in front of the big box store. The Fast Track is a 4-year, 400-hour warranty, cutting width up to 60 inches with a side discharge, 54 with a rear discharge. You can get a 23 or a 24 horsepower engine on this thing. Oh, you'll never go back. And some of these commercial mowers are big old commercial mowers. They have residential mowers. Steer with your pinkies. And you honestly almost don't even need a trimmer. That's how close you can get. That is, of course, grassmonsterskc.com. Grassmonsterskc.com. Betsy DeVos unveiled, I guess, addressed faculty and students at George Mason University yesterday with remarks on the enforcement of Title IX, and basically has overturned the Obama administration's enforcement of it and abuse of it, by the way. She criticized the Obama administration's 2011 Dear Colleague letter, in which it sought to end cross-examination of alleged students by students accused of sexual assault in campus courts, and rejected the traditional clear and convincing evidence standard of proof in school disciplinary process. And I'm going to try not to make this too verbose, but through intimidation and coercion, the failed system has clearly pushed schools to overreach, with a heavy hand of Washington tipping the balance of her scale. The sad reality is that Lady Justice is not blind on campus today, and it's true. If you are accused, you can be removed from school. It is honestly ridiculous. She made it very clear that acts of sexual misconduct are reprehensible, disgusting, and unacceptable. Okay? But she also said that the proceedings where the accused are brought in are essentially kangaroo courts that are stacked against men. I mean, we've heard of the expression toxic masculinity on campus. There's a war on masculinity and men on campus. There is. This is a statistic that I've heard. I want you to listen to this carefully. In response to the U.S. Department of Education's Betsy DeVos announcement about Title IX, the feminist group Ultraviolet said, with 1 in 4 women, this is a false statistic. With 1 in 4 women sexually assaulted while in college, we are facing a national rape epidemic on our campuses. Today's announcement makes it clear that Betsy DeVos and Donald Trump are more concerned with protecting perpetrators than the survivors they sexually assaulted. Now, this is according to Ultraviolet co-founder Nita Chaudhry. Chaudhry also flatly dismissed the notion, listen to this, that people accused of serious crimes should receive due process or fair treatment on campus disciplinary hearings that could lead to their expulsion. Listen to how twisted and sick this is. There are two sides when it comes to rape. There are no two sides, I should say, when it comes to rape, period. That's what she said. The idea that we need to focus more on the rights of the accused would be laughable if it weren't so terrifying and outright dangerous. The actual annual sexual assault victimization rate for Americans, female college students, is 0.61%. 0.61%. All right? The 1 in 4 thing is insane. If you sent your daughter to college and you knew that there was a 1 in 4 chance that she'd be sexually assaulted before she graduated from college, you would be accused of child abuse. You would be accused of, it's like sending your kid to Honduras. Basically, the real rate of rape on campus is about 1 in 500, which is less than the average outside of campus. So it's, something that needed to be done. This is a story that's pretty sad. Just as it's a story about culture and about African Americans and how many view success in school, and it's sad. A lawsuit has been filed by the parents of a young black girl in South Carolina who claimed their academically gifted daughter, student at Hand Middle School, was physically and verbally terrorized for, quote, acting white. The girl's tormentors are black. The bullying went on for 2 years. The lawsuit says that basically it was a horror show of humiliation and physical abuse that immediately began upon her arrival. Although 50% of the students at Hand Middle School identify as African Americans, this girl, India, was one of the few African Americans in her honors advanced classes during the 2015-2016 school years. According to the lawsuit, what followed was physical assault, pushing and shoving, water thrown in her face, 2 chipped teeth, beating with a bottle. On one occasion, a group of 3 female students attempted to push her down a flight of stairs. The same students had verbally accosted her on prior occasions and continued to do so after the assault. The motivation all appears to be racial on top of physical bullying. The lawsuit says the verbal bullying and harassment began almost immediately. Taunts included Oreo, white girl, wannabe white girl, black white bitch. The lawsuit adds that she was generally maligned for acting white. The suit is specifically directed at the Richland School District. Apparently they have a discipline system that was broken so badly under the first year of Principal Brian Goins that unruly students ran wild in halls and cursed at teachers and administrations while fights and bullying went unchecked, according to parents. The lawsuit references Professor Kimberly Jane Norwood and her work on blackthink, or a form of discrimination practiced by a group of individuals who judge blackness, who decide whether a given individual is really black. Okay, this is that study. She said in this 2006 study, published a paper that looked at the phenomena how black students who attend school regularly, participate in the classroom experience, are not uncommonly accused of being white or acting white. Blacks attack other blacks who are overachievers, verbally, sometimes physically, other blacks simply because the latter perform well in school. The article explores the ironies of this attack given the history of slaves in America who were mutilated and or murdered for trying to learn how to read and write. The incredibly high dropout statistics, illiteracy rates among black youths and in public schools, and the connection between the uneducated and incarceration rates. Also in this. According to the lawsuit, the young girl whose father is also active duty military is now being homeschooled. And I hope she can get past this because I was bullied and it sucks. It was not good. Not good. Okay, on to some other stuff. Coming up, I'm going to share with you. George Michael has a posthumous song out. Okay? Foo Fighters have a new song. I'm going to share a little snippet of them. All righty? So it was originally thought that we have 6 emotions. Researchers at UC Berkeley found 27 distinct human emotions and displayed them on an interactive map. Okay? Apparently, Alan Cohen did the study. He and his colleague, Dr. Keltner, asked more than 800 students to freely report or rank their emotions after watching 30 short video clips. So not only do you have, these, whatever they said, 6 emotions, whatever. You've got 27. You want to hear them? Okay, here we are. Admiration. Okay, I like that. There's a guy driving a Cobra in traffic this morning. I was admiring the car. Adoration. Aesthetic appreciation. Oh, this place is fantastic. They also call that HGTV syndrome. Amusement. Anxiety. Awe. Like, oh my God, look at that. It's awesome. Awkwardness, okay. Boredom. Boredom is an emotion. Calmness, confusion, craving, disgust. Craving, I should say. Disgust. I don't crave disgust. Empathetic pain, yeah. Entrancement, okay. Envy, excitement, fear, horror. Okay, maybe it's more than fear, I guess. Interest, joy, nostalgia, romance. Okay. Sadness, satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. I don't know what it is. Sexual desire, sympathy, and triumph. All of those can be experienced by the average woman in 5 minutes. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm trying to find a perfect segue. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, this is because I just mentioned romance and sexual desire. This is kind of, to me, it's a no-duh study. Research at the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences in Germany conducted a series of experiences and found that sexy songs enhance the sense of touch. Basically, music makes sex better. Duh! So participants listen to music as a robot simultaneously and discreetly stroke their forearm. A robot? So sexy music enhances the feeling of touch, apparently. They were given a bunch of songs. I don't know what they were. They were rated on a sliding scale. As to the level of arousal they evoked, from not sexy at all to extremely sexy. Music seems to change our perception of touch. Certain features seem to be transferred from music to touch, said Tom Fritz, the head of the study. To which I say, anybody who's ever listened to Barry White has known that for years.
I'll take good care.
Come on, man.
Of you.
Oh, yeah.
That's what a man is supposed to
I'm
do.
touching myself right now. My arm.
And I'll be
Yeah.
there for you.
Oh, it's very
all
enhanced.
the time. Let your head down. Let me get you in the mood.
Come on now. I'm thinking Barry White would be on the sexy scale. My voice would be on the opposite of, not sexy at all kind of. There you go. So, duh. It would take scientists to not understand that. That they'd have really?
I don't know. I think maybe I've heard from some people that music makes sex better. I haven't had sex, so I'm not really sure.
Oh, Hillary Clinton's book's out, and the blame storming continues. It's called What Happened. Should be What Happened with a question mark. But, she's going after Bernie Sanders. She's going after Democrats. She's burning bridges. She's not only burning bridges, she's doing like the end of the bridge over River Kwai. She's blowing it to shreds. It's remarkable. I guess the hardcover's like #1 on Amazon. The audiobook is way down there because she read it, you see. Here is a little monologue from Jimmy Kimmel about Hillary's book with a lot of truth to it, actually.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton has... You remember her? Hillary Clinton has her name on a new book about her ill-fated run for the presidency, which I'm excited about. I was just thinking to myself this morning, I would love to relive that magical election of 2016.
Yeah.
It's like reading a book about why the Titanic sank while you're sitting at the bottom of the ocean.
Yes.
CNN got a copy, and they released some excerpts, and in it, Clinton referred to James Comey as a rash FBI director, so she and Trump have that in common. Although, in fairness to Comey, he only got that rash after being forced to shake hands with her husband.
Oh, hello.
This was a good tidbit. According to one excerpt from the book, Bill loves to reorganize their bookshelves at home. He does it all the time, which means he's got some old Penthouse magazines hidden back there.
Yeah.
The big headline, the big takeaway from this book is the aim Mrs. Clinton takes at Bernie Sanders. She blames him and his supporters for irreparably damaging her campaign. She says he isn't even a Democrat and wonders why he would run for the Democratic nomination, which is a very good question that should have been asked 2 years ago, but I guess it didn't come up until now. The book doesn't come out until next week. We got the trailer, though. They do trailers for books now, and it looks like it should be a good one.
Here it is.
For the first time since her astonishing presidential defeat, Hillary Rodham Clinton tells her story in her own words. A remarkably candid perspective. A brutally honest look back at where it all went wrong. Why, despite overwhelming odds, everything collapsed. Hillary Clinton. It's that Bernie's fault.
There you go. It's everybody's fault. I mean, really, it is. There's some serious blame storming going on. I did a podcast a while back. You could find it on iTunes. You could find it on just about anywhere. And I called it The Madness of Queen Hillary. And it's pretty pathological. Pretty, I don't know. She doesn't accept responsibility for anything. Coming up, I've got a really, really funny story about how many of us say your day is ruined by a negative internet content. Oh, and a really, really funny story about Disney. They have secret code names for rude visitors. I want to share that pretty shortly here. Oh, by the way, you can write me, carsonontheradio@gmail.com, anytime. I have a Facebook page, Rob Carson Show, and Twitter feed at Rob Carson. Do not rob a Taco Bell in Cleveland. 3 employees at a Cleveland Taco Bell opened fire on 2 armed robbers, killing one of them. 2 robbers come in, they got masks on. Wednesday morning, they ordered 3 employees to get on the floor. Police say 3 other employees, all 3 pulled out handguns and opened fire, shooting one of the suspects 6 times. The other suspect ran off. The man killed was a 24-year-old DeCarlo Jackson. Investigators say Jackson was found with a loaded gun in his hand. He was taken to the hospital, pronounced dead. The employees who opened fire are said to be between 19 and 23 years old. Taco Bell spokesman told Cleveland.com the company is shocked by the shooting, is offering counseling to employees. I don't think the two guys who shot needed the counseling. But, there you go, kids. You got concealed carry. That's what it's there for. It's what it's there for, kids. Burning Man's over, by the way. Boy, they're just a gigantic assortment of narcissists and exhibitionists. It's even bigger than Congress. Burning Man attendee posted on Instagram that she distributed her breast milk to the concert goers. Mika Agrawal is her name. She's the controversial co-founder of Thinx, T-H-I-N-X, a women's brand of period panties, apparently. One of her employees accuses her of sexual harassment earlier this year for taking things too far in the office, discussing sex, groping female employees, and attending video conferences naked. She's mentally ill. On Instagram, Agrawal, I've seen the picture, posted a photo of herself wearing a breast pump with a long caption about her experience at the festival. Quote, I pump my breasts every 3 hours at the Burning Man Festival. Gave most of the milk away. Some people downed a whole 4 ounces, hoping for a hangover cure. Some wanted it for their coffee to make lattes. So many were excited and curious to try it. I drank some too when I ran out of water. Tastes like sweet coconut milk. She wrote, noting that few of the employees seem to understand the mechanics of breastfeeding or pumping. No, thank you. 26% of us say negative internet comments ruin their days. People consider likes on social media very, very important. I don't care. I mean, I get a lot of likes. The percentage of us who say that a lot of likes are very important, 10% somewhat important, 29% somewhat unimportant, 20% not important at all, 36%. So there you go. 26% of Americans post photos of themselves once a week or more. I don't post photos of myself very often. I do food porn. Only 10% say that getting likes is important. 39% said that the likes were at least somewhat important to them. For many, a more personal dose of the internet feedback has a greater impact. 61% that reading a comment on their post made their day. 26% that said that a comment ruined their day. So, I've had a few issues with Facebook, and I used to do music radio, and I didn't really have an opinion because you had to play Lady Gaga all the time, and I had a group of friends that would listen to me on the radio, and they were very different from me politically, and most of them are very cool. But since I do a show that does contain some politics on the radio and also on the podcast, at least one or two of them will just out of nowhere fire at me. And when I fire back and I give my opinion, that's very upsetting to them because I'm not just playing Lady Gaga anymore. And unfortunately, I know that several of them have unfriended me, and I think it's awful. But I normally like content. I like of course, nice comments. But if there's a comment that I disagree with, I will express my opinion in a nice way. And if someone is a complete douchebag, I will correct their grammar. That's the thing I'll do. I'll say, well, you used the wrong form of there. It should have been T-H-E-I-R, not T-H-E-Y''. South Park may be avoiding Trump, but its new video game has no problem parodying racism. This is just funny. The Fractured But Whole RPG video game bases playing difficulty on the character skin tone. So offensive. Lighter skinned characters default to an easier mode of play, while dark skinned characters have a more difficult time. Don't worry, this doesn't affect combat, Eric Cartman says in a voiceover during the selection process. Quote, just every other aspect of your life. The Fractured But Whole also allows gamers to choose non-male character, female, transgender, or cisgender, as opposed to the 2014 South Park game, The Stick of Truth. I love this. So they just don't care if they offend. It's so glorious. It's so glorious. Rochester Institute of Technology, apparently they say that a screenshot was taken out of context. They caused outrage after it told students that they should masturbate as a way to stop themselves from carrying out sex attacks on nights out. Slide was presented at a student orientation session at the Rochester Institute of Tech. It used the Winnie the Pooh character Roo's name as an acronym for masturbation. It's rub one out, Roo, R-O-O, Roo. Sandra Johnson, Senior Vice President for Student Affairs, said in a statement, the overreaching goal was to increase awareness and promote discussion about the ways we can together prevent instances of sexual misconduct on campus. Darcy Lane Williams, director of the University Center for Women and Gender, said at no point did we think that they say that masturbation is a deterrent to rape. It's a deterrent to other things before you go on a date, I'll tell you that. Arriving early, I think, is one of them. Hospital in Denver, Colorado, has suspended 5 nurses because they decided it'd be a good idea to open a body bag and gaze upon a dead man's noteworthy penis. The quintet of nurses worked at Denver Health Medical Center. 4 of them, I guess, suspended. The ogling happened between March 31st and April 3rd. Multiple staff members viewed the victim while he was incapacitated, including after he died. A nurse with basically overheard them checking out the genitals, reported to the hospital. Hospital administrators suspended the 5 nurses for 3 weeks each for their involvement in a spate of gawking incidences. 4 of the nurses continue to work at the Denver Medical Center. So a record of the suspensions and the genital gaping incident will remain on the personnel files of the 4 still employed nurses. So they were looking at his wee-wee and going, oh, my God, look, it's so huge. I don't know. Whatever. Disney has a secret code for rude visitors. This is funny. Listen to this. So if a visitor is particularly rude or disruptive, staff members refer to them as a treasured guest, quote unquote. Disney has a rule against employees using negative or insulting language in front of the customers, you see. They've got other things. And for instance, if a guest vomits somewhere in the park, common occurrence because of fast food and fast rides, it's called a protein spill. If a protein spill takes place, they do a code V. On the Disney Cruise Line, staff also have a phrase for when a kid pees in the pool. It's called Code Winnie. Now, this is the weird one. They have a code for when a guest illegally tries to scatter someone's ashes. At Disney theme parks, they're often sentimental places. There are several instances each year of visitors spreading a loved one's ashes, either on a ride or somewhere else. It's been described as, they call it a white powder alert. It's announced and a staff member is immediately sent to clear up the ashes while the ride is halted. Oh, my Lord, what a job, right? What a job! 2 more stories. British farmer thanked firefighters who rescued a litter of piglets and 2 sows from a barn fire in February. What did he do? He made sausages out of them. Oh, this is just... Farmer Rachel Rivers thanked the Pusey fire station with sausages made from the pigs they saved. Wow. She said, I gave those animals the best quality of life I could ever give them until the day they go to slaughter, and then they go into the food chain. The Pusey fire station shared photos of the sausages, which have since been deleted, and thanked Rivers for the meat. They saved these pigs from becoming bacon in February. And all right, before I go, I want to share what I promised earlier, which is some new music. George Michael, there's a new remix from Nile Rodgers. The single is called Fantasy. I heard the whole thing yesterday. I thought it was pretty darn good. Hard to believe he's gone, but here's a little sample.
It's kind of funny that you think that I'm the boy to make you cry. I can make you happy, if only for a while, little baby. Oh, little baby, I can give you all the loving that your heart desires. If you ain't got time for me, I'll find another fantasy.
He had a damn good voice, didn't he? I just really, my favorite song by him is Freedom. Freedom, 1990. Really, really cool. Foo Fighters. Oh, my favorite band. They're my favorite band of all time. They have a new song called The Line. Here's a little piece. Love me some Foo Fighters. And finally, a little food-related story. Why not wrap things up with food? This is why America's so great. Reddit and Thrillist combined to come up with a list of American foods we take for granted, but people in other countries have never tried. Listen to this. This is why America's a great place. I mean, one of the things. Deep-fried everything at a state fair. Unbelievable. Biscuits and gravy, B&G, baby. Come on. Tater tots. Root beer. I love root beer. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. You can't live without mac and cheese. Chocolate chip cookies. Beef jerky. Authentic American barbecue. I had some at Q39 in Overland Park yesterday. S'mores and corn dogs. Those are things that other countries have never tried. We take it for granted. I don't take barbecue for granted. All right, time for me to get out of here, guys. Thanks again to Dr. Alex Nelson, founder of LifeChiro.com, GrassMonstersKC.com as well, for being sponsors on the radio program. If you would, please, the podcast, I should say, share it with other people. It's growing slowly but surely. Downloadable, of course, on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa, play the Rob Carson Show podcast. It'll play the most recent version. Also on Patreon, patreon.com. If you want to give me $1, $5, $10 a month to keep this going, just type in Rob Carson Show. Will you do that for me? I would greatly appreciate it. It pays the bills and it supports my family and keeps me doing this. In the meantime, God bless. Have a glorious day, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.